going.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
All right. So this training session is to learn the skill of differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors.
Okay.
It's also called DRA, and I'll probably refer to it as that because it's a little quicker to say. The purpose of teaching you this skill is because when you use a DRA, it's very good at decreasing undesirable behaviors that you might see in some clients at the group home, and in place of that, increasing desirable behaviors that you want them to use that'll be more functional within their daily living. The agenda of this meeting is we're going to start with a bit of basic theory of reinforcement and differential reinforcement, and then I'll do a model demonstration of how you go about implementing the skill of a DRA, and then you'll get the chance to practice some scenarios, and then at the end I'm going to watch you practice one and mark off on a checklist, and that'll give us a good idea of whether you've got a good hold of this skill or if we might need another training session to do this.
Okay, sounds good.
The goal by the end of this session is that you should be able to implement a DRA, which involves identifying aspects of behavior and then using it in a practical situation. So, all behaviors occur for a reason, and the function of a behavior is the reason why the behavior is occurring. A behavior can be maintained or reinforced by a consequence that occurs directly after a behavior has been engaged in. So if a child is screaming at a grocery store and a parent gives them a treat to calm them down, that the action of the parent giving them a treat reinforces that child's screaming, and it makes it more likely that they'll engage in that behavior again the next time they're in a grocery store. All types of reinforcement are supposed to increase a behavior. There are 4 common functions for behaviors. A behavior can be used for a function of escape or avoidance. It could be access to a tangible item. It could be access to attention, or it could be something that's automatic to a person. So let's say you have an itch on your arm and you scratch it. You're reinforced by the itch going away, and you're more likely to scratch again the next time you have an itch. Differential reinforcement specifically is how individuals learn that behavior may result in reinforcement in some situations, but that it may not in others. In differential reinforcement of an alternative behavior, any specific behavior to the unwanted behavior that is functionally equivalent to that unwanted behavior is what you select to put in place as the desired behavior, and then you want to reinforce that new desired behavior and withhold reinforcement for a behavior that you don't want them to do. So when you implement a DRA, there are a couple steps. I provided you with the definition on that sheet along with some other definitions. When you implementing a DRA, first you want to define the desirable behavior that you want to implement. You want to define the undesirable behavior that you want to decrease. You want to identify what is reinforcing that undesirable behavior. And then you want to reinforce instances of the desired behavior consistently and immediately. And then you want to eliminate reinforcement for the undesirable behavior. And then you also want to eventually use intermittent reinforcement to maintain the target behavior and then create a generalization program. Those last 2 steps will be done at a little later date with the help of a behavior consultant. So for now, we're going to focus on just the initial implementation of an alternative behavior.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so now we're going to practice a couple scenarios of implementing a DRA. So I'll model one first. We've got a volunteer. You can stand here. You can stand there. Great. So you're going to be modeling a client who's been spitting at other clients when they come up to them and they're in their personal space. So in this situation, I would have watched this for a bit. The undesirable behavior is obviously the spitting. You don't want them to do that. what's maintaining the behavior, we figured out that the function is that they don't want other clients, other people up in their space, so it's an avoidance function, they want them to go away. And the desirable behavior we want to put in place is just to teach the client to verbalize and say that they don't want somebody in their space.
Okay.
So this, exactly what they say will all depend on their the verbal abilities they already have. So right now we'll say that what we want to teach is the client to say, please go away.
Okay.
So if you could practice the undesirable behavior, so you walk up to be in her space, so she's spitting at you, and your natural reaction is to back away.
Yep.
So we want, but she's getting reinforced by that, so we want to eliminate that reinforcement. So we'll do it again.
Okay.
Okay, and I would block you from walking away, and I would prompt the client to something like, use your words.
Go away.
Good job using your words, and then you reinforce with positive reinforcement, and then you make sure they're also reinforced by that person actually walking away from them.
Okay.
So when they do the proper behavior you want them to do, we'll practice again, you go up to her again. When they do the proper behavior,
Please go away.
good job using your words. You reinforce to make sure that they use the words, and you also make sure that the person who's too close to them, you also reinforce by making sure that they do leave them alone. All right, any questions about that?
No, pretty straightforward.
All right, so we're going to practice another scenario. This time, I'll be the client at the group home. I like to hold the remote when I'm watching TV, and when other clients try to take it from me, I get aggressive and I hit them.
Okay.
So how would you implement a DRA for this scenario?
So to begin, I'd probably start by identifying the undesirable behavior. So in this case, it's that aggressive reaction and hitting the other client. Secondly, I'd try to identify the outcome, or the intended outcome in this case. So it looks like you're trying to hold on to the remote or trying to keep the remote to yourself. Thirdly, I want to implement a new, more desirable behavior. So in this case, I might have you use your words or a more peaceful form of communication. So something like, no, that's mine, or please stop, or no, I'm keeping this. Anything works like that. And then fourth, I'm going to start by reinforcing that new positive behavior. So offering praise like good job when you use your words or do a more peaceful approach. And I'm not going to reinforce that negative behavior, that kind of hitting reaction. I'm going to stop that situation, and I'm just going to give you a little prompt like, hey, use your words, we don't hit here, in order to try to get that more desirable behavior.
Okay, do you want to model that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
No, we don't hit here. I want you to use your words. Try again.
My turn.
That's a lot better, thank you.
All right. Very good. I'm just going to give you a little feedback. So that was a very good job. I liked how you were able to identify the undesired behavior, the function of it, and then you put in a good alternative behavior of using words instead that still has the same function, because then they can keep the remote. You did a good job verbally reinforcing with praise when they did the desired behavior, and you did a good job of stopping reinforcement for the undesired behavior. All I might suggest is that you might have to physically prompt if they're doing the undesirable behavior. You might have to put your own hand on the remote and either take it or push it down when you go to remind them that they can only have the remote if they use their words, because by the time they've hit somebody, the other person's dropped the remote and they're no longer in danger of losing that tangible item. Okay, we can practice a third scenario now, and I'm just going to be looking at a checklist as I do this, and we'll see how you've progressed.
Right,
so in
sounds
this
good.
scenario, a client at the group home has been biting their arm, and you realize it's a spot where they have a patch of eczema.
Okay.
So how would you implement a DRA for this?
So first, I'm identifying the undesirable behavior, which is biting that eczema patch in this case, and identifying the intended outcome. So I imagine they're trying to get rid of the itch here, find relief. So I'm going to try to enforce an alternative behavior, such as scratching with the nails or the fingers. And then I'm going to reinforce this new alternative behavior while in turn not allowing reinforcement of the negative. So if you just want to start modeling that for me. No, we don't bite. Use your hands. That's much better. Thank you very much. And we're going to continue that reinforcement process. And then down the line, I'd like to talk with a behavioral consultant and work on reinforcement thinning and continue to modify this behavior.
All right, very good. It seems like you've grasped the main aspects of this. So I would say that we don't need another session specifically on this aspect of differential reinforcement. However, there are more aspects within differential reinforcement, so we might have more training sessions about those at a later date. And if you do end up having any questions about DRAs, you can ask them at that time as well.
Great, thank you very much.